I'm now changing my advice to the Prime Minister after seeing the $4.3 million beach house is now buying at Copacabana on the New South Wales Central Coast. I'm changing my advice. You see, back when he was running against Bill Shorten to be the Labor leader, I said to Anthony Albanese, why don't you tell people about how you were a battler? And boy, did he. In fact, I think he overdid it. How often have we heard him now telling or boasting how he grew up in a shoebox or some such?
I grew up in a council house in Camperdown, the only son of a single mum on the disability pension. But I also know what it's like to struggle. My mum lived in the one public housing that she was born in for all of her 65 years. And I know what it's like, which is why I want to help all Australians into a home.
This is now so part of the Albanese shtick that is put it at the very start of his story on his webpage. This is what drives me. My mum raised me in public housing as a single parent, and so on and so on. In fact, even today, Housing Minister Claire O'Neill told voters Albanese understands all about the struggle to buy a home.
Our country, led as it is by a Prime Minister whose access to housing in his childhood totally transformed the rest of his life.
Yes, it sure did transform his life, so much so that my new advice to Anthony Albanese is this: you're going to have to change your hard luck story now that you're buying your $4.3 million house with lovely ocean views, which looks like a perfect retirement home actually for a Prime Minister who realises he's on the nose coming up to an election. Besides, people, they're just not buying that story anymore, Mr. Prime Minister, that you're one of them who knows their struggle. It's going to great. You see, I think it was actually a political mistake, selfish even for Albanese to buy this place at this time. I mean, it's good for him, no trouble with that, but I think it's bad for Labor. Great for him to buy something so nice, but you just need to hear the commentary about this today to see how it hurts Labor to have the supposedly battler PM buy such a house when rents are going through the roof under his government and buying a house has become almost impossible for the young, which is exactly the point the opposition leader made today.
I wish he and Jody well, but the homeowners in Australia that I'm worried about at the moment are people who can't afford their mortgages. People have had 12 interest rate increases under this government, and interest rates should come back. But because of Mr Albanese's bad economic management, we're seeing inflation remain higher here, and therefore interest rates remain higher as well.
But Albanese today, he just stuck with his anecdote.
I have, of course, I am much better off as a Prime Minister. I earn a good income. I understand that. I've been fortunate. But I also know what it's like to struggle. My mum lived in the one public housing that she was born in for all of her 65 years. And I know what it's like, which is why I want to help all Australians into a home.
The Prime Minister also denied today that buying this house well out of Sydney showed he was ready to check out of politics.
I'm planning to be in my current job for a very long period of time. Well, Jody and I are getting married, as is known, and I'm pleased about that. And Jody's a coastie. She's a proud coastie. When your relationship changes, your life changes and you make decisions.
Okay, so what story should Albanese now tell about his life? Well, how about telling us how fantastic this country is? The opportunities that you can go from a housing commission flat to a beachside mansion if you work hard enough and get a bit lucky. Good, inspiring. It's such a change from trashing this country and its past. Except, of course, for this. Albanese, like me, belongs to a generation that could go from next to nothing to owning a first home before they turned 30. But that's no longer true, and partly because of Albanese himself. I mean, there's inflation, which is far too high because of his crazy spending and the choke his government's put on productivity. Australians are actually getting poorer, have been for quite a while now. And then there's the big one, immigration. Albanese still is letting in nearly 500,000 people a year, when building approvals have actually dropped to the lowest level in a decade. So how does that compute? We've got less than 160,000 homes a year being approved right now. So given all that, is it any wonder that homes in our capital cities have never been so unaffordable? You just have a look how many multiples of median income it now takes to buy a house. So my children certainly aren't as lucky as I was at their age, being able to afford their own home. If only their Prime Minister looked back on his life and realised the real message, that younger Australians no longer have his luck. They don't have the same chances he had to buy their own home early and then trade up to what he's got now. So how about cut immigration urgently? Cut the crazy spending that's keeping inflation, interest rates too high, people too poor. Make that great Australian dream real again.